Parkinson's disease isn't just about shaky hands or slowed movement. It's a progressive disease that can rob a person of their ability to move, speak, and even take care of themselves. But it doesn't just affect the person diagnosed, it impacts everyone around them. Watching a loved one struggle to walk, lose their independence, or fight to be heard as their voice fades is heartbreaking. And for caregivers, it's an emotional roller coaster, exhausting, overwhelming, and yet filled with the moments of deep love and purpose. Dr. George Ackerman knows this journey firsthand. After losing his mother, Sharon, to Parkinson's, he made it his mission to raise awareness, support families, and push for a cure. His story is one of resilience, advocacy, and action. I know it's going to open your eyes and inspire you. This is the Pursue Your Spark podcast, and I am Heike Yates. If you're feeling stuck in midlife wondering, how did I get here? You're in the right place. We're all about real transformation, not quick fixes. My mission is to help you break free from limiting beliefs and outdated habits using fitness and wellness as tools for change. Each episode offers practical strategies for turning complex challenges into simple, actionable steps. So bring your yes, I can attitude and earbuds, and let's explore how you can truly thrive in midlife. I am so honored to have Dr. George Ackerman on the show. George's story is one of love, loss, and incredible resilience. After losing his mom, Sharon, to Parkinson's disease in 2020, he took his grief and turned it into a mission, founding Together for Sharon, to honor her memory and raise awareness for Parkinson's nationally and also internationally. George is a devoted son, an advocate, an author, and someone who inspires thousands to take action in the fight against Parkinson's. And I can't wait to dive into his journey and his incredible work. Welcome, George.
Thanks. It's an honor to be with you. And like I said earlier, consider your family and all the things that you do mean the world to me and the entire Parkinson's family and community.
And it was so wonderful that you invited me on your show to talk about Parkinson's and Pilates. And that's how we really started to connect. And I'm so glad that I can support you and your family and the mission to help with the Parkinson's and stop Parkinson's.
Yeah, one thing before we get to me is I do want to tell everyone how grateful I am to you because we'll get to it, but I don't do any of this for money. I don't want anything. I won't accept it, but I look for unique things in the world, almost like things that are missing. And when I find them, like you, kind of goes to a place in my heart. It means the world because I don't see enough with Pilates and Parkinson's and slowing the progression. And that's really why I do this, because if we could just reach one person that might not like, every sport they've tried and they feel like they're going to give up. Well, wait a minute, here you are, and you can offer Pilates, and now you just change their life. And they can actually slow the progression, which we didn't know about 10 years ago. And that's really what I do, have done, and continue to do in my mother's memory.
Yeah. George, let's start with your mom, Sharon. Can you share a little bit about who she was and what made her so special to you and your family?
Yeah, I always say I wouldn't be the man I am today or have the success I have in life if it wasn't for my mother's sacrifices. And she was just an incredible person and my best friend growing up. She was a school teacher and had a master's degree and literally kind of threw it out the window and raised me and my brother. So she could have went on to be something, and no, not that it have to, but higher ed, like a PhD or who knows what. But she decided it was more important to raise us, and that meant the world to me. And I don't think there's anyone except today, my wife and children, that has been right by my side. I always joke and say she was literally on by my side because I have pictures at police academy graduation, at law school graduation, at the PhD. So I was going to quit all these, and she was always right by my side or a phone call away to encourage me never to give up. And unfortunately, we lost her on 1/1/2020 due to Parkinson's, and I kind of feel like a piece of me passed with her, but a new piece was born, and that's really where I went from advocate in my world of law enforcement and law to a caregiver for my mother, and then today as advocate again, but this time for all those still battling Parkinson's throughout the world, because we have about, I think it's a lot more, but about 13 million people battling Parkinson today.
Yeah. Now, for people that don't know what Parkinson's is, everybody's heard about it and everybody knows the purple color and its significance. But I know so many people don't know what it is, how it manifests itself, and what are the signs to look for.
I think the hardest thing with Parkinson's is that no one really knows. And that's why there's no cure today. But we have made some scientific progress, which is good news, but it's the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease in the world. And I hate saying it because when I started, what we did is built a website called togetherforsharon.com in memory of my mother. And I only thought there'd be a few people visit, and I would have been fine with that. But we've had over 50,000 people visit the site. And it's just part of me, again, doesn't like that because we've got so many, because it's either my advocacy is nice or sadly, the rate of diagnosis is increasing, and that's not something you want. I myself, even, I don't talk a lot about it. I don't know if it's just because I'm a workaholic, but lately I've been having a lot of twitching in my left, it's been 3 months, my left cheek, and my hand has been a problem. But again, I honestly, between us and the audience, I think it's more working too much, but I'm going for a DAT scan myself, which is what they use now to see if you have or possibility of Parkinson's, and kind of paranoia too, because my mother had it, and I've interviewed a lot of people, as you know, around the world now for Parkinson's, and many have it in their family, but there's no proof it's genetic. So to answer again some of your question, many, and I believe really big time that it's an environmental disease where somebody, my mother had a beautiful home for her lifetime, but for 20 years, she had mold, she had termites, and back 12 years ago, it's horrifying what they sprayed in the homes. Even today, I told my wife the other day, it just hit me out of nowhere why the bug companies in Florida do not go into your house. So they only spray external. I never even realized it's because of that thing, not Parkinson, but, they're spraying our homes, our children, our animals with horrible things. So from environment to food, to diet, to exercise, are all different methods we think that either can combat it or possibly, cause Parkinson's.
But what is the sign when I look at, and we've talked about this, but my listeners and I haven't talked about this because I have you as the expert and advocate here, is like how would you notice in a person that they might or suspect that they have Parkinson's?
Yeah, they do believe, and I also am a proponent that there's 5 stages. The first one, my mother's first sign, and everyone's different. That's a big problem because we can't really say. We can just kind of summarize. But she had a lot of stiffness in her left arm, so she had it for 15 years, but the last 4 it started to show. For 7 years, she didn't really tell us, so I didn't even know it. I thought it was just a word, Parkinson. I didn't even know it was a disease. We don't know if it's because she wasn't really sure what it was, if the doctors weren't, or she kind of felt more shame and didn't want people to know, because it really changes your life for the worse depending on how it progresses. The big problem with answering that question is its progression is different for everyone. There are people at 90 still alive, and they have Parkinson's, and it does prevent them to have certain daily activities, but they're still with us. Unfortunately, others have passed at 50 and 55. My mother was only 69. The last 4 years was something I can't even talk about, so we put it in a book. But she went for a special trial at a university, which I don't name because I don't blame them. I blame the disease. And that night, for some reason, I got a call. It was 4 a.m. I don't know if they changed her medications too drastically, which still not sure today. But I got a call from my father in New York, and we're in Florida, to rush over my mother's house at 4 a.m. When I arrived, and I'm trained in law enforcement, but not for this, she was moving her furniture out of the home. And I asked, why are you doing that? She said she was in fear the Nazis were in her home and they're going to harm her. And that's where we discovered, delusions and hallucinations associated with different types of bad things, from medications to Parkinson's. And that's where, from literally the 4th year downhill, went a spiral into things I've never seen again, never want anyone to. But some of the areas are, some people have external tremors like Michael J. Fox, but not everyone. My mother had more internal until the last year of her life, and then she did have external. Also, there's 5 stages, I believe. Stages 1 through 3 are where you'll have a little bit of unsteadiness in your gait. Walking is a little tough, but you can still live independently. But then when you hit, and again, there's no way to tell when, but stages 4 and 5, you can no longer live alone because it's very difficult to walk, to sleep, to eat, to shower, to really just be independent, and you can't drive. So those are some of the signs, is really the stiffness, rigidity, things like bradykinesia. And again, I could talk a lot more in science, but I don't want to bore you. It's not.
It's just the idea, what is it to look for? And we've talked about this on your show with my client that has Parkinson's, and her signs were really tremors in the head and the leg.
Yeah,
and her legs were.
The problem is that individual could have that, but others have others, and it's so complicated. My mother kind of was frustrated, to be honest, because she had more internal tremors. So she had Parkinson's and was struggling, but if you looked at her, you didn't see her, shaking, and that made her even more upset because she felt like people didn't believe her. So very complex and interesting and tough disease.
So when you look at the situation with your mom, you were her caregiver. What were the biggest challenges you faced while supporting your mom in her battle with Parkinson's? And how did you balance your well-being during that time?
Yeah, the hardest thing was every day we tried something, it felt like we went backwards because it just didn't work. We tried 15 different neurologists. We tried everything from medical marijuana license, which was really funny and odd story because I'm in law enforcement, but Florida, it's legal if you get an ID. But that was a really weird, I wrote about that. We tried, massage therapy, occupational, every therapy in existence. We didn't try Pilates, but I don't think she would have been able to do that. We even tried music therapy, but unfortunately, it just kept progressing. I was a caregiver and I write a lot about it, but wasn't the best role model as a caregiver or advocate. So the reason is I didn't, we were told by 15 professional doctors licensed that she wouldn't die of Parkinson's, she would die with it. So in my mind and my family, we didn't know she wasn't going to be with us. And as I saw her kind of, I hate using it, but deteriorate, because that's really what happened. She went from about a 160 or 50 pound woman, 5'4", to almost bone thin by the end. And that was even after we tried, different foods and health, and then gave up and just got chocolate cakes because she loved them, and nothing would work. But we're actually working now on a documentary. The last year of her life, I filmed the video and film of her, and I never shared it because I didn't want her to be remembered by it. But I felt that we need to start possibly a little of it. I still don't want to. That's been a struggle because, she went again from a beautiful, happy, pleasant life to something where the last 7 days of her life she was bedbound and didn't breathe. She had a heartbeat but had no other functions at all. So again, to answer that, as an advocate, you're supposed to take care of yourself first. Even today, I don't do that because every time I think of my mother and what she went through, I feel there's someone out there that I don't want to go through this. So if I could just reach one person a day, even to make someone aware, then I've changed the world for the better. And everyone I meet, like you and your listeners, helps me remember my mother, but keep her memory alive. And as a caregiver, again, I didn't know when she would pass, so she only felt safe when I was with her, but I didn't want her to ever not feel safe.
Hey, Taike, do you ever feel like life is so busy that taking care of yourself falls to the bottom of the list? My client, Maria, knows exactly how that felt. Maria is 62. She is a lawyer who could never find time for herself. Between her demanding job and caring for her elderly parents, exercise and healthy eating often took a backseat. She had always been intrigued by intermittent fasting, but worried about fitting it into her busy life. With the Fasted and Fit Over 50 Jumpstart, Maria found the perfect introduction to a healthier lifestyle. And the 15-minute Pilates sessions were easy to fit into her day, and the fasting schedule was flexible enough for her busy work hours. By the end of the course, Maria felt more focused and less bloated, ready to continue her new habits. If you see yourself in Maria's story and want to try the course, check the link in the show notes to get started. I like that you shared that, because that's a perspective that is not offered that many times when I talk to caregivers or people that help with caregiving or finding people that caregive for somebody. This never is a part of the discussion, that it's like, I just want to be with that person. I really don't worry about me, but what's more important is being with her. And she felt safe when I was with her.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And just, it's very frustrating. I always say I feel like a nail and a hammer just kept hitting me down and down and down. And even now I'm still grieving 5 years later.
Yeah. Your mom's passing, after your mom's passing, you turned your grief into action by founding Together for Sharon. Can you share how the idea came about, which is pretty obvious, but still it's your journey, and what the journey of building this movement has been like for you and your family? Because you're not doing this movement all by yourself.
Actually, I am. It's just, my wife is a big support, but I usually spend countless hours, some nights not sleeping, thinking about everyone still, but also missing my mother. And that's really is by myself. I was raised to sacrifice a lot of yourself to help others. Before my time in advocacy, I became an attorney, worked at the prosecutor's office for my internship, and worked at a lot of different types of law, but criminal and business, and then did my police academy, became a police officer. And I'm in a reserve since 2006. I've never been paid a penny. I just put my life on the line to help serve the community. Then I did my PhD in criminal justice. So today I teach around the country, police. But a good part of my life, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up in crime areas. So I always wanted to help victims of crime, and I didn't know how to do it. And thankfully, when I did my PhD, I did a study and worked with a group of African-American mothers who lost their loved one due to murder. And it's almost kind of odd and eerie that it's similar to the Parkinson's community. Obviously, no one is taken because of crime here in the Parkinson's community, but those mothers who lost a loved one it's hard to reintegrate themselves back into society, but they did it through community support and faith. And I correlate that a lot to Parkinson's. If it wasn't for Together for Sharon, I wouldn't have met people who I really not just inspire me and admire, like you and your audience, but every day it's just incredible how many people are out there that we don't know about that are trying their best to battle Parkinson's, but also to be out there and fundraise and to do so many things that are shaping and changing the world. And that's really what keeps me going on even tough days of my own medical issues. And I mean, just the other night,
you had a lot of them recently.
And
I'm following on social media. You're like, oh, there's my foot, there's my arm, there's my neck. And I'm like, George, you should do Pilates.
Yeah, I need you to move to South Florida. Nothing happened to me. I just woke up at 42 and couldn't leave the bed. Now I'm 47, and unfortunately, after 4 back surgeries, ankle surgery and shoulder, now it's another show. But it's not easy every day. Last night, I thought the whole night it's tough to even get up, but something pushes me to never give up. And I shift that all again back to Parkinson's awareness, because to me, pain is one thing. It stinks, but I'm still here. It won't take me, but Parkinson's can take our loved ones. But the one thing it can't do is ever take those memories of the good times.
Yeah. I thought, let me go back to your family that you said you're doing all this by yourself. And I thought I read or saw pictures of you with your sister who's helping support. Did I get this wrong?
No sister. I have no sister. I have a brother, but he's not really involved. I do have an amazing wife and 3 children, but I have 3 children, so we can keep. They take a lot of work, time.
So I did get that wrong, because I was like, oh, he has a sister. I was like,
my wife supports me 100%, 24/7. But I kind of go, and I don't expect anyone to do what I want to do, but she does. We have a show together. It's called the Together for Sharon podcast. It's once a month where we meet individuals around the world and advocate for a cure together. But that show is a little more limited due to the time, because it's hard to have 3 children not screaming in the house. So she does help with that. She did write a passage in the book, so she is definitely a team of mine and the biggest support. But there are some times where I'm on my own, and it's okay, because the amount of hours I put in. We started a different show called Q&A with Sharon St. George, which we had the honor of you being on. I like that because it's one-on-one and get to just really talk about, like we're doing now, but on Parkinson's. And I have to tell you, I started about 3 months ago. I wanted to do 1 show a month. It's become 80 shows a month. And it was hard because, I'm not doing this for likes, but I do want it to reach the world. I don't accept money for it, but it kind of stinks when you don't get people sharing it. So all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I won't name names because I don't want to jinx everything, but we're now booked till 2026. But we have over 30 of the world's most renowned neurologists for Parkinson's coming on the show. And I am so excited and honored, because I think this has to be done. And what they're doing has to be out there. We also have a few CEOs of major Parkinson's organizations that I never dreamt. I mean, I won't, again, get too detailed. One of them told me, not him, but one of them told me, no, we're not interested a few months ago. And all of a sudden their CEO's coming on. So I don't know why or what happened, but it's just a beautiful.
It doesn't matter what happened. You were persistent, George. And that's what happened. You're pushing a very important message that you so believe in. And people see how much energy and passion and compassion you put in the topic. And they can see that it's not just a one and done, I'm going to be a celebrity talking about Parkinson's. No, you really live and breathe it. And you also deserve that being recognized for all the work you do. And that pivots me a little bit to your books. And I want to talk about the book, A Son's Journey from Parkinson's Disease to Caregiver to Advocate. What do you hope readers, and he's holding it up right now, so guys, you got to watch the video, the recording, because we see another book in the screen as well, which we talk at the end. What do you hope the readers will take away from your story, and who would benefit the most from it?
Yeah, like we started, I didn't really want to write books. The reason I wrote the one with my mother is I wanted her journey to be shared and known. I kept, like I mentioned earlier, a journal the last year of her life, because I can't really talk about what I saw. And I decided all of a sudden, what's missing in the world. And I was shocked to tell you, as a friend and as on the show and everyone listening, and I always challenge everyone, if I'm wrong, please email me, but I couldn't believe there isn't one book from a son who lost a mother in the world, like literally the world, about Parkinson. So I said, this is time. And I didn't think of any better way than to share my journey as a caregiver to advocate today, and also embed her life into this important book. And that's really why I decided to do it. And it's for anyone, and it doesn't have to be Parkinson, but anyone out there who lost a loved one due to any disease, because it's an emotional show. And we're like, I hope someday someone would turn into a movie. I wouldn't accept anything from it. I just think there's so many things out there, Hallmark and all these channels, Oprah, but there's nothing for Parkinson's at all. And I just think it really, if you read it, everyone out there, it comes to life. And it's also a tough book at some points, but also inspirational, because at the end, I'm still here, I'm still fighting in her name, but for everyone out there. So that's my passion, and my favorite book forever will be that one.
All the TV producers listening to the show, any big or small, reach out to George. There could be a movie in there for you guys with a great topic. But what do you think, what role do you think awareness and education play in a cure for Parkinson's disease? And how do you hope your work for Sharon will contribute to the cause?
My goal is to reach everyone, which is not easy. I try to go on. I cut back because I've been on over probably 150 shows of other people, like this one. Yours is different though, because again, you understand, and no offense to them, but you have some kind of experience with Parkinson. But last year, which was a beautiful long story, we won't have time for the first ever historic federal bill passed called the National Plan to End Parkinson Disease. And it was unanimous. It was beautiful. Nothing in politics these days at all. Everyone agrees, but most did. It passed the Senate, the House, and the former president signed it into law right at the end of last year. And it's just the first law. I'm shocked still. I don't know why it's the first one, but to help support awareness, funding for research. And I had the honor through the Michael J. Fox Foundation to be a part of it. So I had in my mind set to go on as many shows as I could that for people who do not have Parkinson's and people who are not aware. Because I think we have to get everybody in this kind of boat together in this journey, or we're never going to find a cure. So some people who advocate, and I love all my Parkinson's community, they know it, they stick with their community and things, which is nice, but I think you have to reach outside. You have to find people who don't know and aren't aware, and that's the most important thing. And I think through Together with Sharon, we brought a lot of awareness. Some people say it's becoming a channel, like a movie, because we have about 3 or 4 shows. We have a sports show about it, and you might actually I'm going to have to have you back, because this show is very unique, and we've had celebrities now. We had Bernie Kosar, the famous NFL player. We've had a few other big-time former NHL hockey player who has Parkinson's, and it's growing and growing. We have the CEO, former HBO Golf Channel. So what we do is we focus on one sport each show, and we talk about how you can slow the progression of Parkinson's disease. I believe Muhammad Ali's daughter is coming on. We need someone for Pilates, because I didn't even, so towards next year, I hope, from the end of the year. But there's so many things on the site. I've interviewed 1,000 people, including yourself, written interviews, completely free. That's what the book behind me is. It's called Voices of Resilience. And my second book, it's actually a 2-set thing. I decided after 2 years, my mother passed. It wasn't about me and my mother only anymore. It had to be about everybody, and we had to be a fight. In this fight as a family together, and that's other individuals' stories about how they're battling Parkinson's, and advocates too around the world.
What is the stigmatism about shame around being diagnosed with Parkinson or having a loved one that has Parkinson's?
I think that's an important question. There's a lot of stigma, which the old days it was elderly white man disease, but today we're trying to make sure people are aware it can happen to women. African American individuals, Spanish, it doesn't matter. There's no discrimination, unfortunately. Obviously with it is bad too, but Parkinson doesn't discriminate race, gender, geographic location. It affects people in Alaska to Africa to India to Uganda to US to Canada. There are people throughout the world with it. And unfortunately, some of these more, areas that have no awareness just don't have funding or money. I have a friend named Mr. Hannigan, and he lives in Africa. He lost his mother due to Parkinson's, but when she had it, they took her from him and thought it was witchcraft. And it's a horrifying story that he came on the show. It was an interesting show because he's calling in from Africa, so our line wasn't as clear and beautiful as this one, but so, we have to keep sharing other stories, and I think that helps. And I feel like we do, teaming up throughout the world makes our voices so much stronger than just everyone kind of doing it on your own and not teaming up. I don't understand why individuals don't want to, and most 99% do. And it's just there's a lot of it's not easy as an advocate. I've had some negative times where I thought, like, why am I doing this when I'm reaching out? When I reach out to you, you were an honor and pleasure, and it's fun. That's what it should be. But there are people who are not, receptive. I've had some weird things, which I'm writing another book about, and it's like where 2025, there are people like me who want to do things and not want anything in return, but it's shocking for some reason. It's like, they just think you want something, or someone might think you're, in it for money, but we don't accept money. So it's a very interesting thing, but I'm proud to say 99.9 of that are amazing, and that's why no one will ever stop me, or any event will ever kind of preclude me or prevent me from keep fighting until there's a cure.
What tips do you have? Just like one or two or three tips for somebody who is a caregiver for somebody who has Parkinson's, and what words of advice and encouragement would you might give them?
And number one thing is take care of your own health, because if you don't, then you're not really going to help your loved one. You don't listen to me on how I do it. Everyone's different, but I think it's great that if you do exercise like Pilates, you can do it together, and that's probably the most beautiful thing. One thing I regret, which I don't regret much, is I wish we had the technology like these podcasts, because I wish I had known people like you back then, because I would have done a Pilates with my mother. We would have all laughed. We would have had fun. She went through Parkinson's, and for 15 years, never met one person with Parkinson's, so she thought she was alone. I was only a caregiver for 4 years, and I never met a caregiver. I didn't even know what the word meant, except for like in college, you learn, but you don't think of it. And those things are things you can't take back. I also wish, I think I told you that I had this technology to have done a show with my mother, but it wouldn't have been about Parkinson's. It would have just been about our lives and just laughing about stories, because it crushes me. I would have used those now every day on social media. It would have been a dream. And how you could take little clips, and I don't have that. So that's the one heartbreaking thing of all this. And I do recommend, and if anyone learns something today, please grab your loved one. Don't do it hard, but delicately, and hug them and take a video and just say how much you love each other, because unfortunately I don't have that opportunity anymore. And that's the one thing, honestly, that haunts me every day.
Yeah. So what are you most excited about right now, George?
I'm excited about more advocacy. My show, we're going to start. It's very hard because of my health, unfortunately, and my work. I work a lot, but my wife, I, and my daughter, we're going to start flying, I think, around the country to different Michael J. Fox events. So I'm not flying, but I'm driving to Orlando, and they have the IQ and You. It's a beautiful community event where I have a table and just meet the community. We don't accept anything. And then I don't know if we can do it all, because again, it's very difficult, but my dream would be to fly to Boston, Chicago, Washington, and New York, which we went last year, to different Michael J. Fox walks for Parkinson. And it's just love being not just the Michael J. Fox Foundation, but at these events with people like you, who I've now become family with online, but we never met. So it's really amazing. So in Orlando, it's only 3 or 4 hours from my house, but they're going to have a few speakers of people who I became such good friends. We text all the time, but we never met. And it's the best feeling to just say hi. And there's a big, big event coming for all those in the Parkinson's community called the World Parkinson Congress in Arizona in 2026. And I hope I'm healthy, because every one of probably 1,000 people, but there'll be several thousand, but all 1,000 people I interviewed will probably be at this event at the same time. I don't know how I'm going to get through it, because it's going to be fun, a lot of pictures, but I hope, because they usually do it all over the world, and I can't travel. They did one every 4 years or 2 years. It was in Barcelona last time. And actually, Paul McCartney was a speaker, because he lost a friend due to Parkinson's. So, another thing is, it's just more and more now celebrities are getting Parkinson's, which is kind of sad, but it's bringing a lot more awareness. Just the last few months, famous singer from the Eagles rock band just announced he has Parkinson's the other day. Brett Favre, the legendary football player, announced. Ryan Reynolds doesn't have it, but his father did, and he talked about delusions and hallucinations. And there was even a talk about former President Biden, which again I can't confirm or know, but just having that talk brought the word Parkinson's disease around the world and brought a little awareness. It's growing, unfortunately.
It is suddenly becomes not such a scary word. I don't know anything about it. I become familiar with it. I see there's signs. I see the words. So I think what you said in the beginning of our interview, I don't know, I've been doing this and nothing has happened for a long time. And now you're reaping the benefits of your efforts, that more and more people want to be involved, come out and say, I have Parkinson's, or a loved one with Parkinson's. And when you're in Washington, if you come to Washington, then we'll get to meet for the walk, because I live just outside of Washington, D.C. And then we're going to meet together. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it because awareness starts with action. And next time we're shifting gears, you know what to do for your health, but do you know why? In the next episode, we'll uncover the fitness why, the key to staying motivated, consistent, and making fitness a part of who you are. Trust me, you do not want to miss this one.